In a democracy, citizens need to be informed. Informed about policies, issues, homelessness, law enforcement, and social services. In order for people to make good decisions that affect their lives, they need to be informed. Conversations with Erroll Parker. Dee Andrews is the 6th District City Councilman in this city, and he has just run a successful write-in term for his 3rd term in the city. He's a native Long Beach person. He's been on the city council now for about 9 years, and we want to talk to him today about his life in Long Beach as a football star, but more importantly as a political figure in this town. And we want to talk about his accomplishments and maybe some disappointments that he's had, not only in his political career, but maybe in as a star football player and all that kind of stuff. Dee, welcome to the program. And before we get started, I want to give you props because you were the one that encouraged me to start the conversations with Erroll Parker. I really appreciate that. But let's talk about you as a city councilman and your political career and how has it affected your life?
Well, like I said, I don't know whether the political arena has affected my life in any way whatsoever, because the fact that this has never been a big dream of mine anyway. It's just something, and all of a sudden, after being here for so long, I just felt like it should have been a duty of mine to really get that involved, because the fact that when you've been in a community or a city for 70-some years, you know that city, you know the people, and there's some things that I think you should want to be a part of, and this is why I think I got into the political field. And by doing that, I think if anyone knows, political give you a small token of power, but only to that point. That power I speak of is being able to make a change, and that's what I think I really wanted to be involved in, is trying to make a change or make a difference in the community in which I live in, which is the 6th District, where most people spoke of as being one of the downtrodden of the city of Long Beach. And it has had its problems, but I think the little time that I've been there, I think I've made some form of difference and an improvement, a lot of improvement, because the fact that we were really to that point where we talk about the little kibbles and bits, I think we got a little bigger bite than we have been getting. And that's what makes me feel so excited about what I'm doing right now.
As I go around your district, and I've lived in your district, and I've been involved in your district professionally on a volunteer basis for many years, I see more business development going on in your district. Tell us about that.
I mean, a lot of that really had to come about because of the fact that when you have business, the big business who do come into your district, they want to make a profit, and that's the way it should be if you go into business. And they, at one time, they couldn't see any of that because they looked at our district as one of the crime capitals of the city of Long Beach. So I think we made a big turnaround with that, because the fact that the people have started to feel a lot important. They start enjoying themselves. They start liking themselves, and by doing that, you start liking your community. And all of that, when you start liking your community, you start cleaning your community. And I think when you talk about business, when you know you have a clean, healthy community, then they're willing to come in and make it even more healthier and profitable for everyone that lives there.
Now, the 6th District that you grew up in was predominantly African American when you grew up. That has changed. And you did not run strictly on the African American vote. You established a coalition with not only the African American voting electorate, but the Cambodian electorate, the Latino voting electorate. Tell us about that metamorphosis, which was quite unusual. Most those that preceded you counted on the African American vote, but when you look at the demographics, that has changed drastically.
And it really has. You hit it on the nose, and I think that's why I said, after being and living in this community for so long, you should get a chance to know your demographic, because the fact that it has changed. It has changed immensely, because I know when I was a little kid, that's what it was. It was African American, and Caucasian, and we'd have a few, Japanese who was here after the war. But now you have an influx of all diversities, which has made it even better, because the fact that I think now we have made this family that everybody talks about when you talk about diversity. When you live in a community, you see it, then you embrace it and you try to do the best you can to make it grow. And I think the time that I've been there, we really became a family, and that's what we have to do. I remember coming up, when you're talking about it takes a village. Well, that's what it takes right now. But it's a much larger village. It's not just a village of African Americans or whites. This is a village of all nationalities. And that's what makes me feel so good about the things that I do in the 6th District.
What would you identify Councilman, as your major accomplishment in these years you've been in city council, if you had to think about one, maybe two things that you said, this is something I wanted to do and something I actually got done, what would that be?
I think first thing I think one of my major accomplishments is putting, any of you would know where Walnut and PCH is, this fantastic playing field that we have over there. We call it Chittick Field. It used to be the Hamilton Bowl. Hamilton Bowl, yes. And if you knew what it was a bowl. It was a big old bowl full of water when it rained. And we as kids would go over there in our canoes. We didn't have, it wasn't canoes. They were little equipment that they used to, when you do your cement.
Yeah.
Well, that's what was our boat, and we got in there, and that's what we did over there. Because that's how full it would really fill up that much.
Right.
But it was just a wonderful thing, and when it wasn't, it was just muddy and everything. But that's where most of your athletes, if they know anything about Long Beach, they played at Hamilton Bowl. So I was so fortunate enough to be able to go over and put $11 million, $11 million.
Where did you find $11 million to do?
Well, sometimes you find good people. If they like you, they're willing to put money into it. And it wasn't about, the investment wasn't about that I lose money. You win. You win money that way because of the fact that you're working with kids. You're working with a community that want to have their kids go to a safe haven. And that Chittick Field was what we had when we started it off. And I think it's getting even better because you can take your kids there. You can take your family there. You can go there. And it's just so wonderful when you sit out and see your little Pop Warner kids, your soccer team out there. Everyone, every nationality goes to Chittick Field. And it's safe. You haven't had any incidents whatsoever for us, besides homelessness now, and we know that's not just Chittick Field, that's everywhere. But we have a home at Chittick Field. If you want to go and get in some real shape free, go to Chittick Field.
What about disappointments, D? When you think about, you say, I wanted to do, and now you still got time to do certain things, but the things what thing that disappointed you the most about something you wanted to do and didn't do, or something that happened that way in your political career?
I think for the time I've been there, a lot of it is, especially because it just started, and it just kind of boomeranged through all of it, and that was homelessness. I am extremely compassionate just about people because I've always loved people. And you don't expect all of them to love you, but I thought that if I only had a chance to be able to make some changes, is to build where they'll get the people out of these homeless, situations that they're in.
But there's such an immense problem in our country right now. They say the economy is doing well, but you can't say that when you look at all these. What kind of coalitions have to be dealt with to get housing for the homeless?
We speak of coalition, but I think a lot of it's just compassion. You really have to have a feeling for it because a lot of people say, oh, those old people. Those old people could be us people. Miss a few paychecks and see what happens. So I would like to be able to build low affordable income housing, but at this point we got to get the builders to come in, the builders who want to come in. And I don't want to put what people say, well, the 5, 6, 7 story. I don't want to start doing that in a part of that city. I want to keep our city looking like the 6th district. I don't want it to look like downtown. I want the people to be really, I think they want to be really excited about when we come in and talk about building new affordable homes, because that's the only way we're going to get a few of those people off the streets. We're not going to be able to, like eliminate homelessness. I don't see that in my time. It's just going to take quite a while, but I don't think we could build fast enough to even, try to, eradicate homelessness. But at least we can start. We can put a dent in it. We must do that. If we don't, I think our whole city will just eradicate. It must do something.
There are 2 other African-American city council people in this city, and we never really dreamed that would happen. But now that we do, what are some of the ways that you guys are trying to work together? There's Rex Richardson and Al Austin. What are you guys trying to do? I mean, this is a diverse city.
Yes.
And you can't isolate yourself with just African-Americans. But there are 3 elected officials that are African-American, plus 2 other on the Long Beach Unified School District and on the City College Board. What can 5 elected African-American men do in concert with each other?
Well, I think if nothing else, if you let the city see and our younger generation know that everything is possible and anything is possible. I know at one time that was just a dream.
Yes.
But now it's become to a fruition that it can be done. But in doing all of that, we just can't be there because of the fact of our color. We have to let our young generation know that we're there to try to make a difference. You know, because I don't think any of us should just sit out there and say, oh, I'm the first black this, the first black that.
You get tired of that.
I hear it all the time. And we have to work together with our other, you know, colleagues there on that diocese. And I think they're being very, very compassionate about what we're trying to do, because they know the struggle. And it's not just African Americans with the struggle. We have everyone in our diocese, their community are having struggles. Even when you talk in this 3rd district, we have homelessness down there that people
absolutely
trying to
but
eradicate.
Now, there has been talk about an African American Cultural Center, and you said, I will match $100,000 if you guys. I'm coming to the table with that.
That's right.
What can you give us any kind of update on that? That may be one project that might bring that community together.
I'm really thinking just what you just said there, and I made that commitment, and it's still there. A lot of it is where we'd like to put it, you know, and it's, you know, we're not the buyer, you know, we don't have that African culture money that they have there, you know, but if we could find a place where we could have an African American Culture Center, which I think would enlighten that whole city of, you know, especially for the African American people. They need an African American center, because the fact that a lot of our kids, they don't even know who they are, where they come from, and where they're going. And this would enlighten them so much, because we have a young lady by the name of Sharon McLucas. She has so much black history that we really need to know. Not just the 28 days that we get for black history. We need a lifetime, and she has it all stored up right here in Long Beach. But we have to get it out and let our kids know this is not just a one-day thing. Go visit, go learn about it, learn your history. And that's the only thing really will set you free. If you don't know where you came from, you're sure not gonna know where you're going. And that's what I love about her as an individual. And anybody else who's trying to, you know, step into that form of, you know, culture.
Well, maybe we'll have you back on once some things get rolling on that, and maybe Al Austin as well as Rex Richardson, to see if we can bring that together. But Dee, I'd like to digress a little bit in terms of our conversation here and go back historically in terms of your athletic career a little bit. You were on the show many, many years ago, and you told a story about how you got into playing football. Your brother was really a good player, but he encouraged you to play. You made a touchdown, and your life was never the same. Tell us about those early days. Now, I was at Franklin, and believe it or not, I was at Franklin Middle School, and I saw a picture of you, not in track shoes running track, but with tape around your toes running on dirt track. But tell us about those early days.
Well, not dirt, it was asphalt. We had to run on asphalt at Franklin Junior High School, and we taped our little feet up and did what we had to do. But you know, that was camaraderie. That was a family thing, and everybody. If you didn't get involved, you know, because we had homerooms, everybody got involved, and we had such good mentors. Well, we had that. You know, when you talk about your brother's keeper, and it didn't make any difference what color you were. We just had a thing, I think, and a lot of this, I think, is the way we were brought up. You know, we had that mother and that father who really seriously poured in that thing we call discipline, and that kept us moving, because we all got involved when we got on the football field. We were just like brothers and sisters. We didn't care about what color. We were brothers and sisters. And that's
Give me some names of some old pop that blocked for you. I mean, these big guys, these big white guys that blocked for you.
Oh,
give me some names that.
You know, when you talk about a guy like Mike Gears, you know, and one of the biggest, you know, and Kennedy Lowe, and Arthur Allen, you know, these individuals, and it wasn't big, because the biggest guy we had on our team was 235 pounds, and that was Mike Gears. You know, I was 129. And
soaking wet.
Yeah, soaking wet. And that's we had to play like that, because I went with the Dallas Cowboys at 149 pounds, and I put my weight up at 185. And when I did get to camp, they said, "Where's that kid from Long Beach at 185?" And the owner said, "No, I have a son that's 9 years old that's bigger than you are," but I was 149, so they put me on the fat man's table.
But you know, Dee, you made me lose some money. I bet in the barbershop that you guys never lost to Wilson High School, and you did in 1958 or something like that. Tell me about that game.
That was, yes, it was. The Peterson brothers, I'll never, they made us look, and a big kid by the name of, I can't think of him, but I think he went to the Air Force Academy, but they did beat us. I think it's like 12 to 13. Come on, 12 to 13. But
that was the only loss?
Only loss ever in football, track. But I just, no, we didn't have the makeup of losing. We didn't really know how to lose. But it wasn't like we wasn't boasting about ourselves, but that was the type of competitive we had against each other.
Who was in the backfield with you?
Oh, we had Lonzo Irvin, Willie Brown, and then Willie Martin came along, and Harvey Crow. Now, this is a Caucasian kid, Harvey Crow. You know, you think about this, but this kid was awesome. If you know anything about John Arnett, that was what we had in our backfield. And boy, I tell you, we had coaches that made you made you win.
Dave Levy, Bill Mulligan.
Bill Mulligan, yeah. And these are the individuals made you win.
Now, after you left Poly, you had to stop at UCLA, and then you came back to Long Beach City College, and then eventually Long Beach State.
That's right, eventually Long Beach State.
And then the Dallas Cowboys.
That's right. Still that winning, we still had that winning, everyone, we just love to win. But I think all that had to do with the community which we came from, because if you went to Poly games when we came in, you couldn't get a seat. They had to put bleachers on the other side. Now you can go at any time and you can sit anywhere. That's kind of sad. They closed the community down when we had games.
And in track, now I remember going on what was called California Avenue when Muir came down here from Pasadena. Of course, now your friend, we don't want to go into that. But anyway, tell us about that. When Muir used to come down, and we didn't want to pay a ticket to get inside. We on the California Avenue and saw you guys run.
That's right. You couldn't get a seat even in the bleachers in track. And it's just amazing. People lined up all down. It was California Street then, but you lined up all along the fence there just to watch us run. And this is what made our community so. It wasn't crime. Crime was there, but we didn't have crime, and we didn't. And you're talking about. A lot of people knew the thing about, racism was there. We knew it, but no one ever thought about it. We couldn't go to the hutch. We had to go to the recreation center.
That's right.
But that was okay. Nobody really cared. We just enjoyed what we did, and we respected the people that we lived around. Your community was respected. When a lady's walking down the street with her, grocery bag, you better not let her walk down there. You better take it to her home.
Now let's come back to the future here. You've been as your predecessors have done with the Martin Luther King Parade. You have now continued on. What's in the making for the 2019 Martin Luther King Parade?
Well, we have we try to do every year, but basically saying we try to raise enough money to do what we usually do, and that's have a wonderful parade and a wonderful entertainment show afterwards. And this year we haven't got to that point yet, but I have a few people in mind, and hopefully that'll come to fruition also. But it's going to be good. We always have a good Martin Luther King parade because that's one of the biggest parades we have in our community, and everybody like to come out and be a part of it.
Now, regarding Martin Luther King, of course, you never met the man, I don't think, but
No.
tell us about his legacy and what it means to you, him and a guy like Malcolm X or Harriet Tubman. African American history, led by Martin Luther King. Tell us how, as a councilman now,
Yes, of course.
you're being accountable, and
Right.
the legacy of King, how's that affected you as well?
I think what I did and what I watched and what I've seen and what I read about the doctor is because of the fact that what he died for, a lot of us like our kids today know very little about it. And it's kind of sad because of the fact that here's a man who died for us to do what we're doing today. And we hear about it. The 28 days you get, it's just such a small, episode of what this man really lived and died for. I just think we had that form of compassion and love for our fellow brother because, see, we make the statement, does Black Lives Matter? Does it really matter when I can sit there in front of my house less than 5 days ago and see 2 black individuals get killed right in the middle of the streets? That was shocking to me because the fact that I leave my door open every day. But why are we doing that in this day and time? Why is there so much anger? This is kind of sad to me because the fact that we should have come a long, long ways from Dr. Martin Luther King's time, because during that time, it was almost, it just made you know, because you knew what you was up against. But here today, you have the type of rights, you have the type of freedom that you never ever thought we would have during that time.
Yet, we see African-American males around the country being shot down by police.
Yes, and like I say, this is the type of thing that we fringe when we see and hear about that, and we try to, what really has happened? What has really gone wrong with this society? It's something wrong with it, and it's going to have to be corrected in a way that we don't have any more Dr. Martin Luther Kings. We don't have any more Malcolm X. We don't have those type of individuals. You talk about Sharp and you talk about Jesse Jackson, but we need some leaders that will stand up and let our people know that you have to be accounted for. Quit using excuses.
Now, the Chief Luna, who's
Yes.
the guy you've been knowing a long time, you have a continuing dialogue with Chief Luna about police brutality or African American being shot in the city of Long Beach or anywhere else?
Yeah, no, we don't get that form of dialogue because of the fact that I think everybody's so busy doing their own little thing. And I think that there's going to have to come a time where we must have that form of dialogue. You know, you can't get around it. And, you know, like I said, I think it's an excellent chief because he's up against a lot just like all the rest of our officers. You know, they all have to be held accountable just like we have to be held accountable as public figures. But there's going to come a time when we all have to come to the table and let each other know we're going to have to be held accountable for the things that's happening that we know that's it's not right. You know, and because when they talk about justice, for one, it should be for all. We just can't start, you know, picking individuals and say, oh, that individual, this individual. No, no, no. We have to be held accountable. And I feel very strongly about that because I am the oldest out of the group in there. I've seen
You're
things
the eldest
that they
statesman.
will never see. That's right. I am that elder statesman. And I see things they will never see. All they do is see it on TV or read about it. I've lived it, and I know it. I could be a very bitter individual, but something in my blood, in my heart, my soul let me know that all of this must pass. It has to pass in order for our younger generation to have a decent, you know, life.
That being said, Dee, what do you think is the major issue facing this council in 2018 going to 2019 that the council is facing that they're going to have a tough time wrestling with?
I think a lot of it, you know, just awareness. And if you don't see it, you know, you can't take a blind eye to it. You really can't. And we can't always talk about, you know, building. We got a $3 billion, you know, construction going on in Long Beach. But where are we at that table? You know, when I say where are we people of color, you know, at that table? It's just kind of sad. You know, and I've seen so much of this and I've watched so much of it, but somehow, some way, we're going to have to be at the table, not on the table when it comes to these constructions. And, you know, instead of just sitting there talking about kicking up the dirt, we want to be a part of the big picture.
Now, Dee, okay, let's say if the city manager came to you and said, okay, I hear you when you talk about construction and business. Are there African-American businesses that in construction and these that can be brought to the table and vetted and say, okay, we're going to give you a piece of the pie? Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware of that, and that's the sad part about all of it. And I'd love to be aware of that. And you know, because that's not the I'm black. You be fighting for black people. You doggone right. I am that, and I will fight for that because the fact that it should be. Somebody's got to fight for them. Somebody's got to speak up for them. They elected me, not just black, but all people of color, for me to speak up for the unjust. And I think that is an unjust when you talk about a $3 billion, you know, form of construction going on downtown. Where are we? Where are we in that picture? And I don't see it. I don't see it. And that's what saddens me, and that bothers me. And so we as individuals on that council seat, we're going to have to really make a change in that. We must make a change. Or we're just sitting there and not doing anything about it.
Now you attempted to run for city council a couple of times against Laura Richardson,
Yes.
and you lost, and you came back. You were determined to be a city council person. What motivated you to do that?
I think a lot of it because I'm not used to losing. I just say, and because I knew in my heart, you know, some things just push you, and when you're being pushed and driven in a certain way, and you know, once you get that, then you know that you will be able to help and make a difference. And I think in some small way, I am making a difference. I can't say a big way because things just don't change like that. People think you can do things overnight.
You need four other votes besides yourself to do anything on city council.
4 other votes besides yourself. And that's what, oh, you're the vice mayor, you can. No, it's not that. It doesn't go like that. I would just like to see some more support, especially from the people of color down there. Come down and speak your voice. Let them know. Just don't call my phone every day and say, Mr. Andrew. And that's because of the fact that a lot of people do it. I give everybody my phone number. Everyone calls me because I know most of the people. So it's a good feeling, and it can be a sad feeling because I can't help all of them.
Now, we look at the political climate in this country since President Trump has been in, and we see a lot of divisiveness in this country, even in families who it's painful to talk about their political views because there are such strong opinions. One of the things I've seen, Dee, is the lack of civility when we're discussing things. I might deeply disagree with you, but you're not allowing me to finish my point, and you see it on television. That's a poor image of our children trying to see how you settle disputes. We're not listening to one another, it seems to me. What do you think about that?
I definitely hear what you're saying there. And that's the sad part about it because, well, remember, again, we're not at the stage where when we came up, we listened to our parents and we obeyed our parents. Today, kids, you almost have to obey them because, you know, the laws the way they are. You can't holler, scream, or touch her. You know, it doesn't become your kid at a certain age, and that's sad. You know, because I'm not telling you about I'm beating, you know, your kid, but at least you should be able to talk to your kid in such a manner that your kid would really want to be able to listen. Yeah, I'm not listening. You know what you're talking about. Well, okay, fine. If you think that, but it gets to be really out of control.
Where does that come from, and the lack of respect in the family?
Upbringing. I definitely know, because kids having kids. You know, a kid can't raise a kid. And you see that's happening, you know, and I look young kids today think that's, oh God, I got me a little, you know, baby. Well, you are a baby. So how can babies raise babies?
What are you doing over at Cabrillo? You're there?
Oh, it's an everyday thing. I get a chance to go be a substitute, and I get a chance to go into every class that they have there, because that's what substitutes basically do. But a lot of it, I get a chance to be with the kids, because I think at a certain time when you get a chance to listen, you don't have to do all the talking, because kids will tell you. You know, they tell your feelings, their things they're doing at home, how they're doing at home. And I think it's so important that you do listen to it. Sometimes we just won't listen because those are kids, but kids have a lot of things on their mind. And kids have a lot of beautiful, wonderful ideas. We're living in a generation now. These kids are sharp, very sharp. And there's nothing wrong with you, like I say, sitting down and having a good conversation with them, because it's amazing once you finish the dog. I thought I knew something.
Your wife is going to see this tape here. And so you run your mouth here for like almost, but I want to close. Talk to your wife. Get in that camera and tell her, you know, what you think of her and how she's had to put up with you all these years.
Oh, this is amazing. You guys come on. My wife, my wife has gotten me to a point now that I don't have any meat. She's a vegetarian, and I just would love to be able to have a nice dinner one day, including some meat. But no, I have a wonderful, beautiful wife, and she's been really like a lifeline in my life. Good. Because at one time, you know, I'm just like, oh, wow, when is it going to happen? You just have to wait on the good things. And I think I've waited long enough to get a good helpmate.
Okay,
I love you, and we're so equally yoked. That's the beautiful part about all of it.
The last question I want to ask you, Dee. You've had a friend, Jim Bridgerton, that's been your friend for 60 years. And he's a volunteer in your office. When are you going to get rid of him and get a real person to volunteer in your office and have some credibility?
I hope you don't hear this, because he'd get rid of me first. What are you talking about? Jimmy runs that with the iron fist. And you know it, Mr. Parker.
Yes, I do.
Yes, but he's a wonderful person. I love him like a brother.
I know
everybody that comes through there, it's like a family. Everybody just, on Thursday, we just come by and have old fellowship.
I have my Bible study there.
That's right. That's so true. And it's just so wonderful, because you have to have, that's old, we call it old, stomping grounds.
That's good.
You have to come around sometimes at those stomping grounds if you're out there in the city of Long Beach, and that's where we all meet up over there. And to have you come through and with the Bible and getting us all ready, you know, for that next moment of time, it is so wonderful. It's great, you know. I love Long Beach. I'm planning on dying in Long Beach. My kids was raised in Long Beach. Long Beach is where I'd like to be for the rest of my life. And I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing.
Well, Dee, thank you so much for taking out time in your busy schedule to be on Conversations with Erroll Parker. I got to give you props. I probably wouldn't be doing it if you hadn't encouraged me. Thank you so much.
And I probably wouldn't have came on there, Mr. Parker, if I didn't know you.
Okay. That was Dee Andrews. He's the 6th District City Councilman.
Vice Mayor.
Vice Mayor, that's right,
okay.
the City Councilman in this city. And we've had a wonderful conversation with him about sports, about politics, about family life. And thank you so much again for being here.
It's been a pleasure, Mr. Parker. Anytime. But not soon.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week with some exciting guests.
Thank you.
Conversations with Erroll Parker.
Thank you so much, big guy.
In a democracy, citizens need to be informed. Informed about policies, issues, homelessness, law enforcement, and social services. In order for people to make good decisions that affect their lives, they need to be informed. Conversations with Erroll Parker.